I think your guides are good. I like your guides. I watch every guide you release.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
No big intro since I'm saving it for the outro. Just wanted to mention that I'll be uploading different types of educational Overwatch content as well as a thank you for the 3k subs. Onto the guides. Tracer is armed with Lil Uzi Vert 2. This makes us shoot pulse pistols with energy ammo dealing 6 damage per shot at 1200 RPM with 40 ammo. The biggest micro tip with Tracer's weapon is good trigger discipline. Most Tracers and the majority of SRs will suffer from mashing down M1 without taking the time to readjust their own aim. Spell demonstrates a prime example of this here.
Very poor trigger discipline. I'm gonna watch this in 25% speed. Watch this clip right here. You see that? He dumped his entire clip in the air. This is where you need to have practice built in to where you fire, you make the recognition that, geez, my tracking isn't that good right now, so I'm gonna stop shooting. Stop shooting right now, stop. And now start shooting. You're too close, yes, but you're also just mashing down primary fire. Right there, do you see those slight pauses? That right there is probably the best one in terms of demonstrating.
Another tip is when you're unspotted attempting to one-clip a squishy from an off angle, don't start shooting the instant you see them. Take time to walk to a nearby piece of cover or blink to close the distance and start shooting. The spread of Tracer's weapon is too large at a distance of 10 meters against most hitboxes, and you don't want the damage you deal after one clip to be nullified by enemy AoE healing as well as getting scouted. Aside from that, there isn't much else to Tracer's primary weapon. Tracer's first ability, the Blinky Boy, makes Tracer move forward 7.5 meters immediately with 3 charges, each having a 3-second cooldown. In terms of tech, Blink is primarily used to dodge and juke shots from the enemy, which is most useful in 1v1s against hit scans. This means you should avoid blinking when the enemy is reloading and instead blinking sometime during your reload animation to help realign your crosshair while also making you more evasive. There are some exceptions however, such as playing against a hog who will most likely hook after you blink due to how predictable your movement becomes. In lower ranks you can blink immediately after you turn a corner to avoid stuns, since lower level players will toss everything your way the instant you appear. Generally speaking, you want to blink between short distances of cover to LOS the majority of stuns whilst providing you natural safety. A great example will be Ilios Lighthouse on the right side of Pillar, where you have multiple health packs and short geometry to work around. The penultimate piece of tech solely dedicated for blinks is the Blink Melee Cancel, where you melee first and then blink afterwards to quickly and unexpectedly finish off a low target. The final piece of tech is that you can blink to places slightly above your hitbox. Examples where this is most useful is on Temple of Anubis or maps where you need to blink between high grounds. With usage, most of the time you don't want to use blinks to reach your target, but rather to use it when engaging an enemy, as Sparlow elaborates on here.
Do you see how expensive this engage was? You had to use a blink just to get to her, not even to actually engage. Major Midget, I think, released a Tracer guide recently, and the concept is basically you don't want to use your blinks to move, you want to use your blinks to duel. If you have to use your blinks to get to a target, 90% of the time that's going to be a mistake. Not every time, but 90%. And so now you have one blink where you should have been to begin with.
I'll cover an instance where you may want to actually use all your blinks in one go in the last section of this guide. You also want to ideally finish off a target with a blink remaining to have an almost guaranteed route of retreat to stage your next dive or your next engagement more easily. Here's Barla going into more detail considering pathing with blink.
You have one blink. Where should that blink go to? You have two options. You either go here and run away from Hog, or you go inside here and run away from Hog and get the Mega. I would probably go Mega, but instead you go back into the enemy team all the way this way. Now, is this a bad position for you to be now? No, it's not as good as you being here or here, but it's okay. But the problem is how you got there. You went right through the middle of the enemy team. It's like trying to cross the street in the middle of like rush hour.
Tracer's second ability, Wait, I'm about to head out, makes Tracer rewind the last 3 seconds of what happened, which takes 1.25 seconds to complete, granting Tracer all of her ammo back paired with a 12-second cooldown. In terms of tech, the main one is to melee just before you recall, cancelling the animation. Aside from that, recalling to utilise the 1.25 seconds of invulnerability can be used to avoid bursts of damage such as Diva Bomb, although blinking away to cover would be better. You can also use this same time frame to charge up another blink to immediately retreat to cover, however this should be a last ditch effort and not something you are trying to actively do. Another major thing I want to mention is to not recall after you use Pulse Bomb and to simply blink away instead. This shortens the window of when you can next re-engage by preserving recall. Aside from that, similar to other defensive cooldowns, you primarily want to use recall to escape dives and duels whilst gaining back HP. One thing to note is that on maps with high ground such as Numbani or Blizzard World 2nd, you want to avoid jumping off high ground since you will be forced to recall back to high ground or waste time staging back to it, so make sure your engagements count. Tracer's ultimate, La Bombe V2, makes Tracer throw a pulse bomb dealing up to 355 damage, taking up to 1 second to detonate. The main piece of tech is to use pulse bomb a frame before you blink. This can allow for unexpected pulse bombs and quick 180s. I highly recommend this workshop code BGBXD, where you have a set timer to land a pulse bomb, meaning every frame counts. The other piece of tech is to stick floors and walls, as top 500 Tracer player Aviv details here.
There will be almost no travel time for your pulse bomb, and it will count down immediately. That way your enemy won't have time to react to it and he will probably die from it, or at worst case scenario, he will lose a lot of HP. Just don't do it if they gotta lose you. Lucio can be just accidentally on speed boost and save them because of that.
One massively underrated tip with Pulse Bomb is to use it on a Reaser Supercharger. If Double Shield or a Reaser ever makes a comeback or pops up in your ranked games, it is 100% worth it to pulse the bongo every single time. In terms of usage, Pulse Bombing tanks is the most reliable way to use Pulse Bomb. Sticking a Monkey to force Primal, a Rhino to peel back, or Bastion to force Lamp, take angles and to destroy the Bastion are always reliable methods. With sticking squishes however, here's Aviv going over a decent comparison.
If you master the blink melee already, the only thing you need to do now is to just use your pulse and then your blink. That way, as soon as you finish your blink, the pulse will go out and land on the enemy.
Pulse Bomb should be something to aid your engagement and not something to fully rely on winning teamfights for, especially when sticking squishies. However, if you're looking to get multiple kills with Pulse Bomb without a combo, pulsing rotations from the enemy backline can catch them off guard or cause them to split away from each other and therefore slightly delay their rotation. Aside from that, there's not much else to Pulse Bomb. Now onto the most important section of the guide, positioning, playstyle and compositions. Tracer is one of the most versatile heroes in the game and can fit into pretty much any team comp, hence I've dedicated 6 subsections of the most common comps to adapt your playstyle to. But before that, here's Sparlow going over one of the most important concepts such as positioning and timing on Tracer with 3 easy questions to ask yourself every single team fight.
Where is the enemy team? What's the best off-angle that I could take? And when do I go in? Now, sometimes there'll be like little anomalies in here. Like let's say there's a Widowmaker back here by herself. Well, that's where you should go. There's your enemy team's positioning here. You don't care about the tanks anymore. You're gonna go kill that Widow. So really where I guess would be more of where's your target? Is it the Ana Bapkree backline? What's the best off-angle for that target? And then when do you go in?
Moving into the broader, more compositional part of the guide, here's Jane explaining the importance of scouting on Tracer, especially in any dive comp, but particularly on slow dive with maps on high ground.
It's not like if somebody sees you, they can immediately punish you here. So stop playing hide and go seek and start playing Overwatch. Start getting information, start preparing for the next dive, start getting into a new location. Location here? Not useful. Congratulations, they don't know where you are. You're a Tracer though. Even if they do know where you are, they can't punish you without investing a serious amount of resources into you. Go onto the high ground, get into halls, start scouting, provide information, set up the next path for your team. Don't You just used 2 blinks to traverse blue because you were taking such a long time getting into position, and even though you were in a perfect position behind enemy lines to scout and set things up, you didn't provide any information and your team did a second blind dive in a row.
In Sombra Tracer Fast Dive, here's Temporal explaining the 2-man surgical dive, combining and advancing on a lot of the macro and micro concepts mentioned so far.
This comp's trick is its one-clip play. Sombra sets up, gets to tell Tracer exactly where the target that she wants to kill is. Sombra goes ahead and unstealths, starts to hit a hack on either the target that she wants to kill or a target that would provide meaningful peel to that target. And as Sombra is hitting this hack, Tracer triple blinks in. Then Tracer goes ahead and one clips, just empties a single clip into the kill target, and Sombra shoots this target at the same time. As soon as Tracer's clip is empty, remember, no blinks left, both Tracer and Sombra recall and translocate out. Ideally, this went ahead and got you the kill. Tracer's plenty capable of one-clipping a 200 HP hero all by herself. She had extra damage from Sombra there. This can very easily lead to that nice one-clip kill. If you did get that kill, once you have that recall back, you can just go ahead and perform a normal dive on this team. You've got a 6v5. Their last guy is still on the way back. Easy win.
Keep in mind that even if you don't get the kill, you're not losing out on too much. Even on defense, the worst that can happen is that the enemy team gains some space and that you'll have to re-engage faster. You can also send your entire team to follow up after or during the 2-man Sombra Tracer dive, but make sure that Tracer and Sombra are coming at different angles to the core dive. Moving on to Brawl Tracer, the 2 main choices you'll have to make is whether to engage on the enemy backline or to mirror the opposing enemy Brawl Tracer, as Sparlow elaborates on here.
The choice was, do you mark their ball tracer so that your backline can be safe, or do you pressure their backline so their backline is not safe? In this instance, because your backline is really, really tanky and doesn't need help, I would say go for their backline. But you can mark their tank tracer or whatever while you're waiting, because right now their backline's not doing anything. Now, if it was a mirror, in other words, both of you guys had Zenyatta and Mercy, then I would probably say if you guys have the space, you guys have the map, then I would mark their ball tracer. Because if your Zen Mercy stay safe, then you're going to win because they're in so much better positions.
In a complete or close to ball tracer mirror, you'll be playing a much slower tempo, in which case a poking playstyle may be the most suitable, as Nata explains here.
Alba would almost always play in Carrots and Moser's LOS, so Alba would always get resources, and it made it really difficult. And the problem with Sigma is where if he tries to play with the ball, and he tries to go aggressive with the ball, Alba's just going to match him, and it's going to be really hard. So the only option Sigma has is to basically try and draw Alba out and try and win that 1v1 or force him back, and then essentially hope that these guys get a lot more value because Alba is drawing a lot of resources, and then hopefully Willie gets value too because Alba is matching Sigma, which then means Willie's a bit more free to do stuff because there's not a Tracer matching him.
Now onto double shield. Those who've watched my double shield guide will already know the Tracer variation, which is to mark off angles and force the enemy team to play in a linear fashion, as Spano draws comparisons to in an owl match.
You're playing against Tracer. When you try and set up your flanks, the Tracer, blink, she's on top of you, and she punishes you for taking a flank. She can be anywhere that she wants at any time. So she actually helps win these flank spam wars because she doesn't worry about the spam. She denies you from taking angles. They're all clumped up like scared rabbits on top of each other. Why? Tracer. That's why. And they have no answer for the Tracer. No Brig, no Tracer of their own, nothing. How much spam damage do you think Izayaki is putting? Is Gesture under a lot of pressure from Discord right now? No. Is Lee Jae Gong and the Echo and the Zen, the Tracer, are they smashing the crap out of Gesture's shield and killing tanks and winning the spam war right now? No. Let's watch how much spam Izayaki is getting done right now. Shoot shield, shoot shield. Nice, 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 nice. Uh-oh. Tracer, Tracer, Tracer. Tracer, 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 Tracer. Oh no, I'm almost dead. Tracer, 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 Tracer. Prophet has completely removed 2 people from the Dragon's equation by not even killing them. Just being there. If you don't have an answer for Tracer, you have to spend half the time looking at Tracer instead of shooting shields. Like if you shoot shields here, Gesture dies. But you can't shoot shields because if you turn your too much attention to shields, Tracer comes up and one clips you.
Moving on to the penultimate comp, which is hard spam with Zen Bap or Zen Mercy. You're going to be acting as a Puppyguard for your Zen Bap by mirroring any threats to your backline, and especially against the dive comp, you want to be poking and chasing dive tanks such as a Winston or a Bull to force a messy dive, as Sparlow explains here.
If you Harmony Orb your Echo, and she just permanently hunts down that monkey, or hunts down that Tracer, you're gonna make it so much harder for them to dive. Like you Harmony Orb your Echo or your Hanzo or your Tracer, and she just literally just like goes after them and just constantly pressures them, they never really dive. Or they never dive properly, and they certainly never dive at full HP. You force her Matrix, maybe you force a Monkey Bubble, maybe the Monkey's 300 HP, maybe the Ball has to use this adapt the shields before he even goes in. The Tracer uses all her blinks just to be able to reach the dive. Like, it feels really messy. That's why for a long time, when you did see Bap Zen, you almost always saw it with a Tracer.
Finally, onto the last composition that Tracer can be played in, which is a hard Brawl comp. I'll be going over a strat which normally you'd run either a mixture of Mei, Symmetra, Reaper, Junkrat or Doomfist, but this strat can still work well in a ranked or scrim environment, or if you're just a Tracer one trick. The first thing to note is your positioning and pathing on Tracer in relation to your team. Pathing close allows you to deal with the ranged angled threats from close such as a pocketed Ashe if you do come across one, although you most likely have a clear path and you can drop off to the outskirts of the brawl. You can also path on the opposite end of the map, which takes less time and gives you the option to either soft or hard flank, but you are more likely to be scouted. The second thing to note is your timing. In order to explain this, I'll have to explain the playstyles that your brawl comp can take with Mei up against a full brawl comp. Firstly, especially if you're in a scrim environment, you want to decide whether your Mei walls first or walls second, as they both offer different advantages. If you wall first, you are less likely to get a good split, but your team will be able to take space and spread out onto the points. If your Mei wall second, you'll most likely get a better split, but would have traded some map control. I personally prefer walling first, since you guys have a Lucio who can eliminate the advantage of walling second. Against Junkrat or Reaper, Junkrat should also have a harder time landing reliable spam damage if you do spread out onto point, and Reaper will also have to make up some distance to be in his effective range. In ranked, however, you don't need to be this specific with timing as Tracer. You ideally want to engage as soon as your team lands the wall, or if your team get walled first, wait a little so the enemy team don't all just turn around and force your recall before your team can even act on the pressure that you're drawing away from the front line. So, as a where, when, what summary, your target will be the enemy backline, with specific target priority changing on the status of cooldowns. Your timing will be when both teams engage, and your best off angle and pathing will certainly not be stacking on your tanks and should ideally be some sort of hard flank. So to end off this video, I thought I'd mention the passing away of a mutual friend of mine. He recently passed away in his sleep at the age of 16, and a GoFundMe has been started to fund the fees for the funeral. I want to use this albeit small platform that you guys have gifted me to make a positive change where I can, so donations regardless of their size will make a huge impact. The GoFundMe will be linked in the top line of the description, and I hope that the next video won't be this grim, but until then.